You are watching Reflections with Triggerz.
Reflection.
Starring Triggerz McKnickers.
He's a professor.
Contemplating life's mysteries.
He's all smart stuff.
So it's not okay to be white, huh? It seems just fine to be anyone else. Pride and support groups on every college campus. Special interest lobbyists on every legislative floor. So why this one exception? Well, apparently, it's the lack of color. Yep, melanin, as Western science refers to it, is actually the chemical component to consciousness, and what really makes us human. So, the more you have, the more woke you become. Or is it pronounced woo? I always confuse the two. So this is why you tell me that it's the white man's nature, this instinctive drive to enslave and oppress others? And this is how the white man remained on top of the world for so long, despite the fact that your people were the original inventors of everything, and the original inhabitants of everywhere? And when the chains were put on you, you built the white man's world we see today? Personally, it looks more like concrete than cotton, but then again, I'm no engineer. But if anyone would know what the cracker is made of, it would certainly be you self-proclaimed descendants of Nubian kings who genetically spliced these Neanderthal hybrids, the forefathers of the modern-day Caucasian, inferior subhumans, of you melanated demigods. Yet so clever enough to steal everything you owned and made, including your liberty, and somehow the knowledge to build your magical flying pyramid world right out from between your ears as well. Interesting. I guess one's inability to soak in as much of the sun's rays as you is compensated with the power of psychic vampirism. Might explain the IQ differential. But what's odd about all of your reasoning to demonize the white folk is that the only race with the so-called predilection for tyranny is the one who enacted universal emancipation in every one of his nations, while the one who is apparently naturally incapable of such inhumanity is still practicing slavery in many parts of Africa today. Of course, I'm not suggesting that this is a racial phenomenon, more like an Islamic one, really. But hey, who am I to question what I perceive as cognitive dissonance? You know, Wiseman once said that paradoxes only manifest for those who are not intelligent enough to fully comprehend the larger paradigm. Could my calcified third eye be preventing my required wokeness? It seems to make sense to many persons of color, and strangely enough, many low T-level whites, that predominantly white countries would readily take in millions of non-whites without any expectation on them to assimilate, or even work, because they're so deeply racist, even on a subconscious level. While several predominantly black nations are displacing millions of their white citizens today, through property seizure and even genocide, because it is virtually impossible for a person of color to be racist. Because power plus privilege plus victim dollars plus below self-flattering glitter dust of your own ass is some more, don't you? So pay up, you pink devil! Dig deep into those pockets and hand over your last dollar for reparations, for slavery that you, well, not you personally, but someone who kind of looked like you did long before you were even born. But what does that matter? Someone has to make up for the suffering that, well, not them personally, but someone who kind of looked like them did, long before they were even born. But what does that matter? This is raining an injustice that goes far beyond the personal, since the white race was the only one who, well, not exactly. Pay up anyways, because activism is far easier than actually having to work for a living. You know, aside from the fact that it seems morally reprehensible to me to cash in on an injury that you've never experienced, it doesn't seem quite possible to guilt so many of who you call white supremacists into accepting so much blame, to self-censor so often in public discourse, and to pay so much into a tax system that funds your relief programs. In fact, the white nationalists that I've questioned, though most of them have said, well, no, I'm not interested in oppressing anybody, I just want to live my life far away from them, because it tend to turn entire neighborhoods into gang-infested third-world shitholes. The few that actually do want to firmly plant their fascist boot heel upon your necks, well, they tend to say, well, yes, I'm racist. Yes, I'm proud of this fact. And I consider the suppression of non-white liberty and influence to be both a virtue and vital to the preservation of the Western world. from the further dysfunction and decay which had started 50 years ago. So it's not only foolish to think that the millions of whites you've been so successfully conning into apologizing for their supposed privilege for the last decade were even Nazis and Klansmen, but it's a special kind of audacity to demand empathy from those you don't even give a shit about to begin with, let alone call for their extinction. And you do very often these days. But do you hear any of this rhetoric that I heard from white supremacists readily spoken publicly in any governmental, media, or academic institution? All you read was the controversial proclamation that whites have a right to exist like everyone else. And simply this was problematic to all three of those institutions. So why haven't you? Do you honestly think that the white supremacists fear you? If you've read any of the anonymous posts, they can't wait for a race war. They claim to have superior numbers, superior resources, superior education, superior discipline, superior impulse control, and a superior ability to unify into one colossal war machine. But ask yourself, are they wrong? And before you retort to, well, if they didn't fear us, then why so many anonymous posts from anonymous profiles? Well, ask them. They'll tell you. They don't fear you. They fear the state. They fear the status quo. They fear the zeitgeist that would readily see them legally punished, ostracized, and unemployed for hate speech, let alone hate crime. You know, retribution from the very institutions that you constantly proclaim are built on the core value of white supremacy? So who's correct? You or them? Well, let me ask you this. Who feels the need to hide when voicing a mere opinion? Antifa? They feel the need to hide behind their masks just when they're about to crack someone's skull on a bike lock. So which of the two actions are actually constitutionally legal? But even after everything I've just informed you of, or warned you about, you'll still dismiss my objections to your anti-white philosophy as proof of my affiliation with the alt-right. Oh, how foolish. The alt-right doesn't object to whatever you say or do. Oh, they disagree with everything you believe in, sure. But they embrace all of the wrath and resentment you express through media and policy. But why would they, you may ask? Simple. White identitarian groups had all but disappeared through dismal membership up until the rise of social justice under the Obama administration. And I'm sure you'll attribute this uptick on the president's blackness. But the real answer is that you have been their most successful recruiters since the downfall of the KKK's political influence nationwide nearly 100 years ago. And you're too fucking stupid to understand this, being one of history's biggest group of useful idiots. Now level with me here. Is there something to that low IQ theory? You tell me.